We have given two strings, string S and string T, and we say that string T is divisor of S only if we can write S in terms of T. For example, we have the string as, let's say it is AB, right? And we have this string T, which is just AB. Now, here we have this question, does T divides S? We say T divides S only if we can write S n times T, right? We have to concatenate T some number of times, or we can say that S is equal to concatenate T some number of times. So in this particular case, right, we can see that S is AB. So I can write S as AB plus AB, which would be nothing but T plus T, right? And we can say that S is equal to 2 times T. So this means T divides S, which is true, right? So, so couple of points that we can observe here, right? Like when we can say that whether T divides S or not, right? So first of all, S, since we're able to write S as like a factor of, right, as a multiple of some number n times T, right? So we can see that T is a factor of S, or we can say that the length of T is a factor of S dot length, because since in this case you can see the length of S is 4 and length of T is 2, right? And we are concatenating T two times, right? So I'm able to write S as 2 times T, right? And in terms of length, right, we can say that uh, length of S, right, needs to be a multiple of length of T. In other words, we can also say that length of T needs to be a factor of length of S. So, and another observation what we can see is, right, uh, see in this example, ABAB, right? So what all divisors are possible in this case? So one divisors. So if we want to list down all the divisors of S, right? That means all those strings which divides S. So a string in itself is a divisor. So I can write ABAB, right? Because uh, I can concatenate, right? Like if I use 1 times T, that means T is nothing but the string itself. Then in that case, you have S is equal to T, and we can say that T is divisor of S, or in other words, the string itself is a divisor of itself, right? And the other example we saw, the other divisor we saw was AB, because we can concatenate AB two times. So one thing that you would notice is that all the divisors can only be prefix of the string, right? Because you want to concatenate, right? You're concatenating the string some number of times. So the first, for example, you're concatenating S like some number of times. So this T, the first T that you concatenated here, it must belong to the string. That means it needs to be present at the start of the string. So two observations that we can see. The first observations that the length of T, right, should be a factor of uh, length of the string. Second observation that divisor can only be the prefix of the string, right? So now, for example, this question comes up like we want to determine whether a string T divides S or not, right? So that means we want to write a function divides which takes two arguments, t and s, right? And we want to check whether t divides s or not. So first check, we would have to check whether the length of t, right, is a factor of length of string or not. So we have to check if s dot length modulo t dot length is not equal to zero, so we just written false. In that case, t can never be the divisor of s, right? And otherwise, what we'll have to do is, because we want to write like s as some number of times t, right? So we need to determine what is this n, right? So n will be nothing but the length of s divided by length of t, right? If we just do the cross multiplication, so you can see that n will be s dot length divided by t dot length, and it will it will produce no remainder because we have already checked here, right? If some remainder is there, in that case t can never be the divisor. So we got this n. Now what we need to do is we need to concatenate t n number of times, right? So we will have some s prime, right? We'll compute some s prime and we'll concatenate it t number times. How we can compute this s prime? So we'll just try to follow, and it will go from 1 to n, and we'll just keep on. So let's say you initialized, right, s prime with an empty string, and what we can do is we can just keep on concatenating t to itself, right, and we will get n times t, and eventually we can check whether s is equal to s prime or not. If s is equal to s prime, that would mean that t divides s. Okay. So now we will come back to the origin problem. The origin problem states that, like, you are given two strings, str1 and str2, right? We want to return the larger string x such that x divides both str1 and str2. So, what we can do is, since we know this fact that divisor can only be the prefix of the string, so we can take any of the string as a base string. We can generate all its prefixes, right? And for each prefix, we can check whether it divides both the strings or not. So the logic is something like this. For example, the string is like uh, you have the string AB, AB, right? So what, and the other string is AB, 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 right? So we want to find out the longest prefix or longest divisor which divides both the strings. So what we can do is like we can generate all the prefixes of S1. So all the prefixes of S1 would be what? It will be A, AB, ABA, AB, AB, right? And for each prefix, we can check whether it divides S1 as well as S2. So in the code, how we can write it? So for the pointer would go from S1 dot length plus plus, right? And since we are okay, so in this case, the prefix would be what? Prefix would be your string, and its index goes from 0 to uh 0 to I itself, right? You get the prefix. And since you got the prefix, we just have to check whether this prefix, if divides prefix, if whether this prefix divides both S1 as well as S2, we can say that this prefix divides both, right? So we can keep on updating our global divisor. So we want to find out the divisor which has the maximum length. So we can initialize a divisor GCD with the empty string. And every time we find a prefix, right, which divides both string, we can just update the greatest common divisor. right? We do not need to check for whether this prefix is greater than the GCD or not, because since the prefix is only increasing, right? So we can just update it without checking whether the length of the prefix is greater than GCD or not. And eventually we can just return GCD.